we will start a new chapter. Okay, so in Principles of Microeconomics, we had completed our chapter 5 in your section. That is about the price elasticity of demand. Have we discussed the price elasticity of supply and the income elasticity of demand? We have started or not? Please tell me. Have we discussed in our last class price elasticity of demand is complete, I know, but price elasticity of income elasticity of demand, have we discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
Then supply elasticity of demand, supply
Yes,
elasticity.
ma'am.
Okay.
Last class we have discussed the questions.
Questions you have discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Questions regarding how to calculate price elasticity of demand, then how to, if LHS is given, how to calculate the RHS, one variable is given, the other is not given, we have completed? Yes, I think we have completed that, because price and cross elasticity of demand we have completed.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then elasticity chapter is complete. We will start a new chapter. So let me share the screen so that we can go to the new chapter. Yeah. So new chapter is regarding the labor market. You see, till now in our, this is actually chapter 18, we have clubbed it here together with 4 and 5, because this is a thing which is related or almost same as the demand chapter, or we can say, when in demand chapter we are discussing about the goods market. What happened in the goods and service market, means what happened to the demand and supply of goods and services, how equilibrium position is reached, or how equilibrium is being established in a goods and service market, and if there is any deviation from the equilibrium point, that is, if there is any deviation from the point of equilibrium, which is called the shortage or surplus, what happened, how we recover, how the market recover from the situation, how the price increases or price fall, through this price mechanism, how market reaches its equilibrium position again. That we were studying in our chapter 4. In chapter 5, we understood about goods and service market. When there is a change in price of the good or any of its other determinants, like the other determinants of demand, like price or price of related good or own price or income of the buyers, then what happened, how much quantity demand change for any unit change or percentage change in price. That is what we wanted to know. Here in chapter 18, this chapter is about the labor market. What happened in the market for factors of production, how the equilibrium is being achieved here. As it is in the case of goods market, it will be almost like that, but little bit different. So we are trying to analyze it together with the goods and service market. Okay, because so that it will be easier for you to understand, to grasp. And if it will be after many other chapters, then again you have to remember all these things. That is why we are simultaneously telling you about the labor market or about the factor market, factors of production market. Okay. Now we will discuss. Let us discuss this chapter in detail. What determines in this chapter, what we will understand, we will try to analyze the situation when what determines the competitive firm's demand for labor. What is the cause of change in demand for labor and what is the supply of labor? How they change, how they are affected, the wage of the laborers, does it affect the labor supply or not? Means price of wage or price of laborer is known as your wage. So does the wage level or wage amount affect the labor supply or not? Then how the equilibrium wage rate is being determined? Equilibrium wage rate, that means depending on the demand and labor supply of labor, how the equilibrium is reached or how the equilibrium is attained. So when we are talking about the equilibrium, we know that we have different factors of production. What are the factors of production and factor markets? So we will discuss about, even in our second chapter, we were discussing when there are two sectors, farm sector and household sector interacting with each other. They interact through two markets. One is your factor market or market for factors of production. Another is your product market or market for goods and services. Okay, so here we are discussing about factor market. What happened in the factor market, how equilibrium is being reached, and if there is any deviation, how it is being changed. So we will discuss about what is production. First thing, production is an economic transformation of input into output, or simply we can say, in production is a process in which inputs are transformed to outputs or inputs are converted to outputs. Okay, what are the inputs? Input may be any factor of production which is helping to produce goods and services. They may be land, maybe labor, maybe capital, maybe raw materials, and many other things that we are using for as inputs, which will help to produce the output or final product. So, when we are talking about factors of production, that is otherwise known as the factor inputs or factors of production. Okay, factors which are used for production is known as factors of production. So the inputs used to produce goods and services are labor and land. Land, here we are taking as M. Sometimes we take it as LA also. Just it will not be confused with labor. So we are just giving it another name, that is M. N stands for labor. In case of land, we can use that word and we can use this letter N, labor, L, and we can say that capital K. Okay, labor means all type of laborers we are using, all type of skilled labor, unskilled labor. Okay, then we can say that professionals, whatever you say. And when we are talking about land, land means all kind of land where production can be obtained. You can say agricultural land or farm land, or we can say those type of land where the factories can be established and goods and services can be produced. So, and capital means all the equipments, all the machineries, all the structures which are used to produce goods and services. That is known as capital. They may be physical capital. Capital means all type of machineries, all type of machines used for production. We say that is capital. And financial capital is money capital which we use to buy these physical capitals. Or we can say either the person can borrow from the bank to get this financial capital with which it can produce, it can buy the physical capitals or the machineries or structures, or otherwise he can use his own money, own savings for buying these capitals. In any situation we can say that either he is getting borrowing money, so he has to pay the rent or interest for it, either he is using his own money to buy the capitals, so he is losing an interest. If he will keep his money in the bank, he will get an interest. If he is not keeping his money, rather he is buying these capitals, then he is losing an interest. So when we are talking about remunerations or the returns that these factors of productions are getting, we can say labor will get wage, land will get rent, capital will get interest, and if one more factor that is added, organization, or we can say the entrepreneur who organize all these things together to get a profit. So we can say that these are the factors of production, and with the factor, these are otherwise known as factor inputs, or simply inputs, we can say inputs of production. LNKO: land, land, capital, organization. Okay, and with they can produce the goods and services. This is the process of production. Through this process of production, they can produce the output or final product, or we can say the final output. Okay, so when we are finding this q quantity, q stands for quantity, or q is the output, or q means all the final products. Okay, so with the help of this, we have two assumptions to make. We assume that all markets are competitive. That means perfect competition prevail in all markets. When we are talking about competitive market, tell me, we have already discussed what are the characteristics of perfect competition. Tell me, anybody who has remembered some characteristics of perfect competition. The whole demand analysis was made in the atmosphere of perfect competition, means when there is perfect competition in the market. So tell me, what were the assumptions of perfect competition? What we assume? What are the characteristics of perfect competition?
There are large number of sellers and large number of buyers.
Very good, very good. Yes, what else?
Also, there is a supply and demand for only one good.
Yes, homogeneous product. Yes. Yes, anybody else want to give? Two major things what you are saying: large numbers of buyers and sellers in the market, and they are dealing with a homogeneous product. Homogeneous means the same product in with all respect, with respect to quality, quantity, price, everything. So there is no competition, no matter of making choices, they can buy from anybody. So, and third, we can say most important thing is, in a perfect competition, the price is determined by the market demand and market supply, or the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. No individual buyer. When there are large, now here also we are taking that the typical farm is a price taker, the market for the product it produces. And in the labor market also we will talk about. The first assumption we are taking here, we assume that all markets, even the labor market, is also having perfectly competitive market, or perfect competition is prevailing in the labor market also as it was prevailing in the goods and service market. Okay, labor is nothing but the services sold by the people. Okay, who are the laborers will sell their services for some remuneration, that is the wage. So what we are finding here is that when there are large number of buyers and sellers, that means no individual can influence the price of the product. No individual farm, no individual buyer can influence the market price of the product. Market price is determined by the what is the total demand and total supply, or aggregate, that is known as aggregate demand and aggregate supply. The intersection point of it is known as the equilibrium price. So that equilibrium price is the market price in the perfectly competitive market. So in a perfectly competitive market, we can say the equilibrium price is the market price normally. If there is any deviation, that means if market price is more than the equilibrium price, there will be a surplus in the market and price will fall till equilibrium. Similarly, if in any case market price is less than the equilibrium price, as in we will face the market will face the shortage of goods and services, because in this situation when market price is less than the equilibrium price, quantity demand is greater than quantity supply, there is a shortage in the market, so price will go up till it reaches the equilibrium. This is what in a perfectly competitive market for goods and services we understood. So what happened in the market for labor market? So nothing but the same type of thing, that is the labor market is also facing perfect competition. Okay, that means large number of buyers and sellers of labor is present. Number of people are selling their labor, number of people are buying their labor. Everybody, a typical farm, a farm is a price taker, means market price for labor, means market price for labor means wage. The wage rate is determined by the aggregate demand for labor and aggregate supply of labor. Okay, means market demand for labor and market supply of labor. As we know, market supply and market demand is nothing but the sum total of all the demand and all the supply, okay, of each individual who are buying and selling the labor. So we assume here that in the market for product, here the product is the labor. So in the labor market, we assume that the typical farm or every farm means seller is a price taker, means he accepts the market price, cannot influence, cannot change the price. Second is, we assume that farms only think about their own profit. Profit maximization is the main goal, important goal of any farm. Every economic activity is always is associated with a motive and interest. The interest of every farm is to maximize the profit. How they will maximize the profit? So each farm supply of output and demand for input are derived from this goal of that is profit maximization. One example, suppose there is a farmer, Ramesh, who sells the rice in a perfectly competitive market. Okay, we are taking only one thing here so that there will be no complicated thing to understand about the technology and all that, how they affect. We think that suppose it's so only good, that is rice, and what we find here, that suppose farmer Ramesh is selling the rice in a perfectly competitive market. What happens? He hires people, okay, in perfectly competitive labor market, and what he is doing, suppose when deciding how many workers to hire, farmer realizes that Profit will be maximum if he thinks at margin. Tell me which principle it is. Rational people thinks at margin. Which principle? Anybody? Principle number?
Three.
Hmm?
Principle 3.
Principle 3. What does that mean? Rational people thinks at margin. Means what? If you remember? Hmm? Okay. That means every decision making depends on marginal analysis. Let us go back to our, before going to this principle 3, rational people thinks at margin when deciding how many workers to hire. When the firm thinks how many person to hire in the production process, how they will decide this. Okay, so farmer will want to maximize his profit. So if the benefit from the hiring another worker is more than the cost, then Ramesh will hire that worker, otherwise not. Let me go back to the writing pad and we will find out how we can do that. Let me go. Just a minute. I'll just tell you one thing. Suppose we are having a situation when a cookies market, before going to our more complicated situation, let us discuss, suppose cookies. Okay, so this is a cookies market, cookies production. One bakery is there. Suppose he is hiring people. Okay, what I want to say, how rational people think at margin. Before going to the labor market, let us understand how people decide how much laborers to hire or how much factors of production to hire. Labor is also one factor of production. How they decide this? Neither they think about total analysis nor they think about or decide upon the average analysis, but they decide everything on the basis of marginal analysis. And what is marginal analysis? Marginal means addition to total. Marginal means when we say addition to total, this is addition to total. Or we can say, if you have, suppose there is 3 pen and you want to have one more pen, whether you want that one more pen or not, what you will do? You will compare the benefit from the fourth pen that you are, suppose you are already having the 3 pen, the fourth pen is the marginal one. To get this fourth pen, how much benefit you will get, what is the marginal benefit you get from this additional or extra unit will be compared. If it is greater than and equal to marginal cost, means cost of that pen, then you will buy it, otherwise you will not buy it, because that is the situation of a what we say, consumer. In case of consumer, we as a rational person, we will think whether I need this fourth pen or not, and whether this fourth pen will satisfy, is fulfilling my need or not. If it is fulfilling my need and we are comparing it with the marginal cost, means cost of that pen, price of that pen. So if you are, it is, we are, our benefit is more than the cost, we will buy it, otherwise not. Similarly, then let us discuss about a cookies market, how the people decide. Let us discuss one example, how they decide, we will see. In a cookie market, suppose 5 people are there. Okay, 5 people are there and 500 rupees they are taking every day money, that is the wage is 500 rupees. Okay, and suppose they are able to make 10 cookies. Okay, 10 cookies they are able to make. So what will happen, and price of each cookie, let's say, is 100 rupees. Let's say 100 rupees, cookie packets, 10 cookie packets they are able to make. Okay, 100 rupees is per cookie packet. Tell me what will be the income of the farm or return? from this by selling the cookie packets? Whatever they are selling, they will definitely produce for selling. How much money they will return? They will get back?
500.
Hmm? 500 profit we are calculating. I'm asking what will be the return? What will be the return to the return of money to the farm, to the bakery? 10 cookies, each cookie price is 100 rupees market price. This
1000
is
rupees, ma'am.
uh,
1000.
1000. So 1000 is the return or income of the farm, we can say. Income is 1000 rupees. This is 1000 rupees is the income of the farm. And the cost means the wage the people are taking is this much, 500. Now, whether you will say that if it is an average analysis, we can say that 5% and 500 is the total wage. That means 100 is the wage of this one single person. We are not talking about that when he will decide whether to hire one more person, that is sixth person, he will hire or not. He will not decide on the basis of this average analysis or total analysis. He will think about the on the basis of the marginal analysis. What is the marginal analysis? Marginal analysis means what is the benefit or marginal benefit from the sixth unit, and what is the marginal cost of the sixth unit, means six people. He will compare and he will find out if the marginal benefit is more than marginal cost, he will go for it. That is what I want to tell you here, is that not on the basis of average or not on the basis of total, but on the basis of marginal, every decision is taken. How? I will just tell you now, that suppose this is the situation. Now I will say that suppose a sixth person, if he is hiring, he is charging 150 rupees. Let's say this sixth person is charging, will ask 150 rupees to take. He wants to take 150 rupees wage. Now he will compare, and suppose if he is hired and the company thinks that he will be able to produce, okay, he will be able to produce two cookies packets, two cookies packets. Suppose he is able to produce two cookies packets, then how he will compare? Now the cookies package is how much? 12 cookies. Initially it was 10 cookies. Now total production will be 12 cookies. 10 plus 2, 12 cookies. What will be the value of the 12 cookies? 1200. So what is the contribution of the last person? What will be the contribution of the last person? Tell me.
200.
200. Now we will compare the contribution of the last person is 200 rupees. Now he is asking, so marginal benefit of the last person is equal to 200 rupees. Now he is asking marginal cost on the person will be 150 rupees, he is charging. Others are taking 100 rupees, but this person is charging 150 rupees. But still marginal benefit is greater than equal to marginal cost. So what will happen? The person will be hired. So they will hire the person. They will hire the person. Okay. So this is what we are saying. I want to explain you that when the companies decide, we are talking about decision making, whether to accept one more laborer or not. This is one simple example that I'm giving you. We will come to our example, but the thing is, they will compare the at the age. Marginal means addition to total. Marginal means at the age. Marginal analysis means when there you have something and what is the benefit of the last unit or expected last unit. which if you will hire him, what is the expected benefit and what is the expected cost. Okay, if so, that is how you are calculating, that is how you are calculating marginal cost. That is total cost minus n minus 1. Total cost now is 1200 minus sorry, total revenue minus the marginal revenue is equal to total revenue minus the t n minus 1th unit, that is revenue of the before or last unit. 1200 minus the 1000, that is 200, is the marginal analysis or marginal benefit from the last unit. So when the marginal benefit is more than the marginal cost, then it is accepted. If it, then it is accepted. If it is less than it, then it is rejected. So this is how the decisions are made. Now come to our original. Let us go back to our example, that is to our farmer and that is farmer Ramesh example. Now see that the cost of hiring another worker is the wage, that is nothing but the price of the laborer. So benefit that you are getting, the benefit that you are getting, the cost of hiring another worker, whether he will hire one more worker or not, that will depend on the cost of, what is the cost of the worker, that is the price of the labor that he will take or he will charge, or that is nothing but the wage amount. And what is the benefit, how we calculate the benefit, that is what he produce, what is the addition to total production, that is his contribution, that money value of it. How we calculate the money value, the price per unit into or price of that particular thing, that particular unit we will calculate. So benefit of hiring another worker, Ramesh can produce more rice and increase his revenue. So revenue means income by selling the goods and services. Five things, five packets are sold, 200 each, then 1000. So like that, the size of the benefits will depend on the production function. So what will be the production function? How we will calculate the production function? That will depend on what is the production function. The production function, write down the definition of production function. The production function shows the relationship between, the production function shows the relationship between the quantity of inputs, the quantity of inputs used to produce a good, the quantity of inputs used to produce a good, and the quantity of outputs, and the quantity of outputs of that good, of that good. So what we are calculating here, suppose this is the production function, can be explained with the help of total product curve. This curve what we are making is known as total product curve, and with the help of the production table. Suppose this is a production table. One arbitrary example is being done, is being given. Suppose L is number of workers and laborer is the only factors of production or only production factor. Nothing else is being used in rice. And if zero laborer is used, quantity or output is zero. When one laborer is used, so we are adding one laborer each stage. Okay, each stage of production. If one laborer is used, suppose 1000 kg. In case of bushels or whatever they are using, we are suppose kg, 1000 kg of rice can be produced, and by using two or second worker, suppose it is 1800. What is the contribution of the second worker? Tell me.
800.
800. So that is nothing but the marginal benefit from the second laborer or marginal contribution of the second laborer. Margin means at the edge. When one is there, second one is added. What is, how much extra over the first one that he is getting or he is giving due to his, that is his contribution. So if third laborer is being used and total production has increased to 2400 kg. So what is the contribution of the third one?
600.
600. So 2400 minus 1800, you get 600. Similarly, fourth one is increased to 2800 and the contribution of the fourth laborer is 400. 2800 minus 2400 is equal to 400. So that is the marginal contribution. That is the contribution of the marginal laborer. Marginal laborer means the last laborer. Okay, who is being added. So fifth one when is added, that is 3000 and his contribution is 200. So what we are finding here is if you will take these two columns on the graph, we will get a table, we will get a graph like this, which is known as your total product cost. Number of workers is given. In the LHS we are in the x-axis we are taking, and in the y-axis we are taking quantity of rice 0, 500, 1000, 1500, like this we have taken in kg or bushels, whatever they say, and we may say that is kg in kg, and number of workers is increased from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. So by taking these two and plotting them on the graph, you will get a curve like this. What you are getting, this is known as your total product curve. Okay, total product curve. And what is the production function? Production function shows this relationship between input and output. Simply it shows the relation. Q is a function of L. Here what we are finding, quantity is a function of labor. Okay, quantity or quantity of output, that obviously raw materials are used, but what we are taking here, factors of production, one factor of production we are using, that is L. So quantity of rice is a function of Q, is a function of L. Quantity is a function of labor. Okay, so how we calculate that? Assume that amount of quantity is Q and only one thing is used, labor. We say Q is a function of L. Q is a function of L, while this is a simplest production function without any other factors is taken, and even technology or efficiency of production is not taken, nothing is taken, then only simply we can say a production function is the smallest unit. We can find that Q is a function of L. Okay, that is the production function. And from this, how we calculate the marginal product of labor? So marginal product of labor, how, what you found out, 300, 600, and that is 800, all that is nothing but delta Y by delta Q by delta L. So that is marginal, that is known as your marginal product of labor. What is the marginal? How we define it? Write down. Marginal product of labor is the increase in the amount of total output, or simply the increase in total product or total output, the increase in total output due to an additional unit of labor. Due to an additional unit of labor. Okay, so that is known as the marginal product of labor. Marginal product of labor is the increase in the amount of output or increase in the total output due to one extra unit of factors of production or labor. Okay, here labor is the only factor of production we are taking. So what we will get here, given the amount of labor employed and given the total output, that is Q, we can have delta Q is equal to change in output, delta L is equal to change in labor. Okay, so if delta Q stands for change in output and delta Q stands for change in output, delta L stands for change in labor, then marginal product of labor, MPL, or marginal product or marginal productivity, whatever you say, of laborer is equal to delta Q by delta L. Okay, change in quantity by change in labor units. Here we are adding one unit and we are finding the change in quantity. Okay, that is when delta stands for small change. Either you can use like this or we can go for If it is a function, if it is given as a continuous function like a equation, q is a function of L, can be a continuous production function, like we can say q is equal to 2L square plus 3LQ plus 1000 plus L, like this. Suppose it is given. Then how you will find out what is the marginal productivity of labor in such case? If it is given like this, if it is a continuous function or continuous series, you will get the first order derivative of this. Means d by dl of q, d by dl of q. So what you will do? You will find out the first order derivative with respect to L. So you will get 2L and plus whatever the value. So if L value is given and 5 or 10 or 20, you will get a value for Q, isn't it? So if it is a continuous function, if it is a discrete function, you will get delta Q by delta L. Officially, or we can say in fact, the last thing is given like this. The last example in the table, what we have, yes, this is nothing but delta q by delta n. This is a discrete series. Discrete series means when one value is given and one increment is being done. Okay, so this is labor is been increased by 1 unit, so delta L is equal to 1 here, because labor is increased by 1 unit. It can be 2 2 20 20, whatever it is. So what the formula is here is adopted here, nothing but delta Q by delta L. What is delta Q? 1800 minus 1000, that is equal to 800, divided by delta L. Delta L is 2 minus 1, that is 1. So all the situation, so that is the marginal productivity of the second laborer. That is nothing but you have told yourself, because you know this is the thing, but the formula is nothing but delta Q by delta L. We just use that as the formula, delta for any discrete series. If it is a continuous series, then we can have the formula dq by dl, that means with the derivative, first order derivative with respect to labor, nothing but. Okay, q is a function of L. Then we can find out if it is a continuous function, like you can say q equal to, suppose we say 2L square or plus 3LQ, like this. Just have a first order derivative of that function, you will get the value of Q. Okay, if L value is given, dq by dl. That means dq by dl means first order derivative with respect to L, labor. So what we will get a problem? Suppose we are getting a problem. Just a moment. Yes. Yeah. How much time left? Just give me an idea.
14 minutes.
How much?
14 minutes.
How much? How much?
14 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I'll just give you one example. So the value of marginal product, how we will calculate the marginal product. So problem is given, suppose cost of hiring another worker is measured in dollar or money or whatever. Benefit of hiring another worker is the marginal productivity of laborer is given in any unit of output. Okay, so suppose we are finding the convert marginal productivity to dollar to money. Okay, so value of marginal product, how we will find, how we will calculate the value of the marginal product, means what it is worth, whatever is his production, whatever is his given, his means what we are calculated, that 10, if the last person is making 2 packets of cookies, that means that 2 packets of cookies is his marginal product. But how we calculate what is the value when we compare with cost, because when we are talking about wage, it is in money terms. So how do we compare it In order to compare it, we need to know what is the value of the 2 packets of cookies. So when we are, it was 100, so 100, that is price of the packet of cookies into the marginal product. Then we got the value of marginal product, or we can say that is the total equivalent value in terms of money. So that is what we are also doing here. That is why I gave you one simple example, so that we can relate to the this type of examples. So value of marginal product is nothing but the marginal product of the input into the price of the output. Marginal product of the input, that means his contribution in unit terms or in product terms, and into its market value, market price. So this is how you calculate VMPL, value of, write down what is value of marginal product. Value of marginal product is the marginal product of the input into the price of the output, into the price of the output. Or simply you can write, number 1, the value of marginal product is the quantity of produce or quantity of output of the last laborer or additional laborer, quantity or output of the additional laborer into the market price, Okay, so we can calculate VMPL equal to value of marginal product equal to P into MPL. Price, P stands for price, and MPL is marginal productivity of the last laborer, or productivity of the last laborer or additional laborer, extra laborer. In our example, when it is the contribution of the 6th worker is 2 packets into the price of the 2 packets, that is into price of each packet is 100. 100 into 2, that is VMPL equal to 200. What we were comparing with the wage he asked for. Okay, so VMPL is nothing but this one. Only names what you are listening is so complicated. Nothing but what is their contribution, how much they are able to produce, and what is its value. Nothing else. Okay, so that is price of each packet or price per unit into his contribution, how much he has produced. Each contribution is nothing but marginal productivity of the laborer. Okay, so this is how we will calculate. Just a minute. Okay, so we will go back. Okay, so VMPL, when we are talking, VMPL means nothing but price into marginal productivity of the last laborer. In our example of cookies, what we have taken, that is the 6th laborer contribution was 2 packets. 2 packets, that 2 packets is the marginal productivity of the 6th laborer. That is nothing but MPL is 2 packets of cookies. And what is the price of the cookies? Was 100 rupees per packet. So 100 rupees per packet into that the 2 cookies, that is 2 packets he has produced. So VMPL is nothing but that is 200 rupees. This 200 rupees is the, when we convert it to money terms, we will get this. This is nothing but MPL into price, MPL into P. So P into MPL is nothing but price into marginal productivity of the last laborer. Okay, if you are adding one extra person, or if when he wants that to hire one extra person, he will compare this, he will calculate how much he will be his contribution. It is definitely a guesswork, but in economics we always assume, we always expect. Okay, if he is expecting that he will produce 2 packets and he is charging 150 rupees, so which is marginal benefit from this last laborer is 200, or his VMPL is equal to 200, whereas his cost on him will be 150 per day. So he is hired. So in this way we can compare. We will just simply, this is the comparison. Now we will go back to our example. Okay, so now suppose there are more persons. Here we got an example with respect to one person. There can be number of persons. Suppose this is a situation when 5 rupees per bushels, or we can say that is 1 packet or 1 kg, whatever you say. Suppose price is equal to 5 rupees, $5, whatever you say, 5 rupees, let's say, and find out the MPL, find out the VMPL, or value of marginal productivity of labor, fill them in the blank space given here. Then you have to have the graph, then graph a curve with VMPL on the vertical axis and labor on the horizontal axis. This is what you have to do. This is one example, one active learning. Suppose your labor unit is increased by 1 unit, then it is 0, and the last example, from which last table, from which we will calculate what is the marginal productivity of labor and what is the VMPL of labor. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So labor unit is being increased. And how much is the increase in the quantity? We will find out marginal. That is the, for the first one, there is nothing, we cannot calculate anything because it is 0, 0. For the first person, that is 1000 is his quantity. So that is his, that 1000 will be for the first one. This is for first one. Okay, so for the first person this is 1000 because the total is his contribution. So my MPL of first person, that is dq by dl. Formula is nothing but dq by dl, change in quantity by change in labor. Change in quantity is 1000 minus 0, that is 1000, divided by 1 minus 0, that is 1. So 1000. 1000 is the marginal productivity of labor first unit. Then come to second unit. Second unit labor, what you are getting? 800. That means delta Q is how much? 1800 minus 1000. 800 divided by 2 minus 1. That is 1. That is 800. Similarly, when you come to third unit, 2400 minus 1800, 600 divided by 3 minus 2. Delta Q by delta L. Delta Q change in quantity by change in labor. So that is nothing but 600, like this, what we have already calculated. Only the thing is how we will calculate the VMPL now. Value of marginal product. If price of each one, if price of each product is equal to 5 rupees per kg, what will be the VMPL? VMPL is nothing but P price per unit into MPL. So P price is 5 rupees. So 5 into 1000. So $5,000. So what we are getting? 4,000. Similarly, and here is 600 into 5, 3,000. 400 into 5, 2,000. 200 into 5, 1000. So what we are getting? This is the value of marginal product. Means in money terms, we have transformed it into money terms. So what we are finding, farmers Ramesh production function is showing a diminishing marginal product. What we are finding, when we add more and more people to the fixed factor, then what we are finding here, their productivity, when we add more and more people, their total productivity and marginal total productivity is increasing. Total productivity column is this one. Their total productivity is increasing, but at a diminishing rate. Diminishing means a decreasing rate. 1800 means 800 gap. 800 to 600 gap means it is increasing by 800, then 600, then 400, then 200, like this. So it is in a diminishing manner, increasing but at a diminishing rate. Similarly, what is the marginal productivity? 1000, then 800, then 600, then 400, then 200. That means marginal productivity is decreasing. This is known as diminishing marginal product. Marginal product, when we add more and more of laborers, their productivity will decrease, will go on falling. Okay, and what we are finding, the marginal value of marginal productivity, V means VMPL, value of marginal productivity or marginal product. Value of marginal product is also decreasing. How? That is nothing but how you calculate that, P into MPL, price into marginal productivity of labor, we are finding. So MPL will fall as labor increases. Okay, this is one more example we can find here. By taking this, how to draw the graph, that is how to draw the graph. Suppose wage is 2500 per week. If wage is equal to 2400, how many workers should Ramesh hire? Now the question is, if wage is equal to 2500 per week, okay, then what will happen? This is the wage, 2500. Then the labor, how much he will work, how much he will get. You see, you will go back to that. Let us go back to the previous column. The farmers, Ramesh VMPL, if you will take the value of marginal productivity in your x-axis, in your y-axis, 1000, 2000, 3000, 400, 4000, and number of workers as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the VMPL curve will be a downward sloping curve. Means by taking this table, two values, by taking this one, this is your value of marginal productivity, this one, and labor 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. By taking this column and this column, what we will get? We will get the labor in the x-axis. So we will get the values and we will get a decreasing curve or a diminishing curve and downward sloping curve. So what we will find here, when VMPL curve will be a downward sloping, by taking these two points, okay, 5000, and we will get, this is a diminishing marginal productivity curve, or we can say value of marginal productivity of labor curve, okay, which is a downward sloping curve. Suppose wage is 2500, then where it will touch, where it will come? So 2000, how much will be hired? Okay, suppose this is your first person, then he will get 3 laborers. From the table also you can find, if the value of marginal productivity is 3 laborers, so whose contribution is more than that, only they will be hired. Whose contribution is less than that, they will not be hired. So how many persons will be hired? We can find that L will be 3. You can find it from the last table also. Just a minute, just show me, let me show. 2500, if the labor per hour is 2500, what does that mean? The person whose VMPL, compare it with here, okay, first person whose VMPL of 5000, he will be accepted. Whose VMPL is 4000, he will be accepted. Whose VMPL is 3000, he will also be accepted. But this person whose VMPL is 2000, he will not be accepted because his wage is 2500. So marginal benefit will be less than marginal cost. Marginal cost means price paid for him. So wage paid to him is 2500. So these two persons will not be accepted. Only these three persons will be accepted. So L is equal to 3. Labor unit accepted will be 3. Color? Followed or not?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah, this is how you will compare and decide on the basis of any example. So let us discuss, close our discussion here, and we will have our next class.